And good afternoon and happy holidays. It's Wednesday, December 20th, just past 3 p.m. Mr. Frank Prosnich joins me. Frank, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm all right. We're slowly approaching a couple big holidays here, as well as end of year, so it's a little chaotic.
Yeah. Everybody trying to get, including everybody making their last minute charitable donations, thinking that's going to make a big impact on their tax returns.
Yes, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But speaking about chaotic and shifting our schedules and trying to get things done before the end of the year, we shifted her from next week to this week, and that is Newport School Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain. We figured she might try to take some time off next week and maybe enjoy a little bit of the holidays. Is that the plan?
Not yet, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try my best. I'll take a day or two here or there. Definitely.
Go on a vacation to some exotic place somewhere in the world.
Oh, no. We have too much going on here. We've got a big building going up over here and a lot of deliveries. Yes, a lot of deliveries are coming. The last beam will be here next week, and we're all looking forward to that. We'll have a signing, and then probably the week of January 10th, we'll have the official lifting for the topping off ceremony.
Goldman Sachs just put out a piece, or there was a piece I saw from the head economist at Goldman Sachs, who's predicting, who said inflation in November was like 1 point something percent. They're predicting 2 to 3 rate decreases next year, and a couple of rate decreases the following year, and actually use the word deflation, which I don't know whether or not that will happen, but that might ease some of the stress in some of these areas.
We hope so. Every little bit counts. We'll keep our fingers crossed for good numbers going forward.
Let's go back to the signing and the beam raising. Who can come by and sign the beam? Who can come by and watch the beam, the last beam or the last major beam go up in the sky?
So we'll be inviting city officials, school committee, students, staff members when we have that date. So we're going to have it set up on the Wickham Avenue side, and it will be available for those to come and sign it. Then once the signing's done and weather dependent, we will have that beam lifted during the week, I believe, of January 9th. And we'll have more information. It's really closer we approach the date and watching the weather, the more we'll know. So really in the next week or so, Frank, to your point about next week, we will have some messaging probably going out next week just to keep everyone informed on what's going on. It's a busy time of year.
We still on the same timetable?
We're still on the same timetable. Of course, we'd love to push that timetable up. Right now, officially June 2nd, 2025. Everything should be said and done. And then when that, I believe it's the present 7th graders at Thompson. I was talking with some of them yesterday in their math class. I was sharing with them that they'll be the first class entering as 9th graders. So it's pretty exciting.
What's been the reaction of staff and of students to all of this activity and the prospects of a brand new high school?
I think it depends upon the students you're, reaching out to. For instance, our seniors, they're graduating, so their days are going to be memories of breaking ground, of watching the steel go up, which is amazing. I have to say, every day, everyone can't believe the amount of work, how the steel is put up. And now what they're doing is they're wrapping the building like a giant present to keep it weather tight so that they can continue their work during the colder weather months. I think for the younger ones and those over at Pell and Thompson, they're kind of like, there's a new building going up? What are you talking about? Even some of the 7th graders were like, what do you mean there's a new building? And for those who had siblings at Rogers, they went, oh yeah, they're building a building over there, a new one. And so, so I think it's just age dependent. I think for parents, again, it has a lot to do with where your children are in the system. If they're graduating, it's over. I know a lot of them did vote for the bond. And for those that are rising, they're getting excited. And of course, everyone's looking forward to the new building.
Colleen, you mentioned 6/2/25 as the opening date, but if things went well, that maybe earlier. What are some of the reasons that the school could possibly be opening earlier? Is it good weather? Is it construction faster than possible? Is it somebody gives you $10 million? What are some of the reasons?
Oh, that'd be nice. Now, so 6/2/2025 is actually when Gilbane is saying we'll be done with the building. It's not we're going to naturally be opening it and moving children in then. If anything, I think weather, absolutely. Two, construction, if construction could be moved up a little faster, and I know our folks at Gilbane are trying their best, but we have some other things maybe fall into place that enable them to get their supplies, contractors on site, the coordination of all that enables us to possibly complete the project, I should say, the school building sooner.
Anything new on the financial end relative to Rogers?
Not yet. Santa has not arrived. We're hoping to have future discussions with, first and foremost, the school building committee. We did have a briefing with them on Monday night, just sharing out that we do have people interested in starting a fundraising campaign. So we'll be having more discussions on that. I want to give a shout out to Bridget Hole, our boosters president. She has gathered together some families very interested in helping us out, especially with the celebration at the Rogers High School gym before we officially close that. We're thinking that most likely in March, early March, maybe I think it's March 9th, it's a Saturday, maybe having some kind of celebration or a family event for everyone to come see the gym for one last time. April 1, we'll be handing the gym over to Gilbane for remediation and also for just making sure it's all cleared out. And then the demolition will officially begin in April vacation. It'll start coming down the Rogers High School gym. We do have some people, and I want to thank Newport Public Ed Foundation. They agreed to help us out as far as being a C, I think it's C503 nonprofit, that they're going to accept checks so that we can build our fundraising efforts over with them. And of course, anyone that wants to donate, the city of Newport also takes those donations and puts them into restricted accounts.
I think about a 501c3.
501c3. You got it. 501c3.
Just have to get the letters in the right order. The letters.
Yes.
It's like Wordle. Yeah.
Yes.
Colleen, I want to just jump on a quick question, Ryan. In terms of the cost, we talk about the construction cost. Does that figure also include costs for desks or for anything new in terms of equipment in the building, or is that an added cost?
We have a specific budget for furnitures, fixtures, and equipment. It's called FF&E. We have been going through the furniture and inventory we now have in our schools, and we're comparing that to what we need in the new school. So we're actually in the process of that now. We're in the middle of it, looking at the lists, also meeting with teachers, reviewing it with teachers. And then at the end of, I think it's the spring of 24, around beginning of September 24, that's when we'll actually start placing the orders. So we have estimates on furniture costs and equipment costs. We have not gone out for an RFP yet and received hard numbers. And our experience has been those hard numbers are often very different from what we think the costs are going to be.
Were those costs included in the bond, or are they separate from the bond?
Yes. No, they were included in the bond. FF&E is part of the project costs.
I get the, I think we all get the weekly email from the school building committee, and you read through that, and I'm not picking sides here. I'm just calling a fact a fact. You see what this group of volunteers is doing on a weekly basis to put this school together. But one question I have is, when you talk about financing and fundraising and still needing some money, maybe we can kind of clear the air a little bit. is any part of the construction being held up because there's not currently enough money right now, or are they reassessing and saying we can do this down? They're just prioritizing based on what needs to be done.
The answer is nothing is being held up at this time. We are prioritizing. Gilbane, Slam, and Downs put together a comprehensive plan on how to approach it based on the funding we now have available. We do know there is going to come a time and place where we're going to need an additional $3.94 million for the site and costs. So we do know that as far as the landscaping and everything else.
Excellent.
I wanted to, if I can, switch to one of our favorite topics, and that's attendance. How are we doing in attendance?
Newport's doing much better than it had a year ago. I think we're over 10% better overall. Thompson, on a regular basis, has always been in double digits. Dr. Browner's doing an unbelievable job there, as well as our other two buildings, Rogers and Pell. All have seen improvements in their attendance. We keep getting that message out. I visited a few community partners in the evenings last week just to speak to them, to talk to them about our test scores, to talk to them about the importance of being in school. And all community members and everyone says, well, what can we do? What do we need to do? And the simple request, I'm just saying, I said, for now, just make sure all your children are in school. Make sure that children are in school. As a matter of fact, I saw a few here today, I think with their parents, and I did go up to them and I said, what school are you from? They weren't from Newport Public Schools, thank goodness. But they weren't in school today. So they were with mom or dad. So, but I think it's very, very important. We just need students can't learn if they're not in school. So the first priority is have our children in school. Then we'll start talking about the other things we need to do, such as more reading and writing. And we will be having a workshop on January 3rd. We did invite the city council, and we will be reviewing our test scores, which are not pretty. And we'll be sharing some initiatives and I'm going to say changes we're going to be making in the very near future in order to look at how we're delivering and implementing our high quality curriculum that we've purchased. Our teachers have been undergoing and are continuing in professional development right now as far as the math and the literacy. And we need to start monitoring that very closely to help make sure we have the right supports in place for our teachers. And then we also have to make sure that parents understand what the new curriculum is all about. So that's where we are on that.
$5 bonus. Her phone rang while she was on the. No, she's not paying us any money. I'm joking around. Some people might hear
they didn't like what they heard, I guess, maybe. Or they want to donate.
Governor
Maybe it was
McKee's attendance awards every week of who's doing great in attendance, who's doing better. Can you give us the three reasons that most common reasons people aren't in school? Some people might just think, oh, the parents are lazy, the kids are lazy. There's an Associated Press story out today where health officials are pushing to get school children vaccinated as more U.S. parents are opting out of school vaccinations, which is keeping kids out of schools. What are the top reasons kids are missing, and how can people help?
Okay, I'm going to say the first and foremost is we have children that school may not be a priority because for the family, they have other needs such as children working and bringing in income. I will say that. The second one is feeling welcome and make sure they're in a welcoming environment, which I know all our schools are doing. But sometimes mom and dad did not have a good school experience. So sometimes that rubs off on our children. We also face homelessness in our community, which sometimes, it does get in the way of children coming to school. Those are the big ones. But as I've said before, it's really an adult issue because chronic absenteeism starts at the early grades. And you really can't look at a 4, 5, 6, or 7-year-old and blame them for not being in school. Usually it has to do with the home situation, missing a bus and not having the ability to get one's child to school. And that is why with our ESSER funding, we purchased the vans, and we also have positions called student attendance coordinators that actually go out to the homes, pick up children, and bring them to school. Some people have been concerned or worried about those positions because they feel it's enabling those that they feel it's a parental responsibility to make sure children get to school. We're very clear that, we monitor this very closely. And when it gets to a point in place where, okay, maybe we're doing a little bit too much, we need to have a conversation on how we can help you in other ways to make sure you get your child to school. At the middle school and high school level, it's a little bit different. In middle school level and high school level, a lot of times it has to do with the older sibling is taking care of the younger siblings while someone's going to work and they don't want to be left home alone. The other one is, as I mentioned, we have a few of our students, and we have we monitor our tardy reports, especially on a daily basis, especially at the high school level. And we have quite a few children that work late into the night, 11, 12 o'clock or something like that. And so they either miss the bus or they come into come into school, on their bicycles, and they come later. So it's a variety of different reasons, but those are the big ones. I never think it's just because I don't like school, or there's usually some other factor involved that involves things that are going on at the home or something with the child.
I appreciate you breaking it down by age group, because I think oftentimes we think about tardiness or absenteeism when we think high school kids and they're just skipping school. But when you break it down by age, it just shows the different challenges for each group. And I thought I remembered something when I was in high school where you couldn't work on a school night past like 8 or 9 p.m. Is that still a law in Rhode Island or no?
I believe we still have some laws like that.
Yeah.
We do live in a community, or I'm just going to say we live on an island that's very dependent for hospitality, restaurants, kitchens, hotels. Yes, those cleaning times between midnight and 5 a.m. when, they're cleaning out facilities, etc.
So I would like to know the last time anybody went around to check and see if a kid was working past 9 o'clock. Laws are only as good as they're enforced. And so if they're not enforced, they're not a law.
That's true.
I wanted to follow up on, you mentioned 2 items that I wanted to follow up on. What do we mean by not a welcoming environment? Are we talking about people who may be foreign born that come in and this is a little bit strange environment to them from a parental standpoint? Or why wouldn't it be a welcoming environment?
Well, sometimes, all right, so first is, yes, we have, as a matter of fact, a lot of cultures, populations, school is very different. And it's not the parents' responsibility. It's the people who are working the building and run the building. It's their responsibility about school, and they're the ones that oversee it. So, or they've come from a space and place where I believe I mentioned earlier, they did not have a good school experience. So when they go into schools, it's almost like they have, sometimes they have memories that prohibit them from wanting to go to the school to meet with a teacher, or prohibiting the parent from wanting to do anything with schools. And sometimes we have children that often maybe have challenges in the classroom or behavioral challenges, and they start to feel like the adults are not necessarily supporting them or for them, or they feel like maybe they're targeted. And we try very, very hard to try to get our young people to understand that's not the case. We just want you to obey the rules. And sometimes that doesn't always come across, no matter how hard you try. I have to say, we do surveys. And I will say the Rogers High School staff, they get very big positive grades from whether it's an informal survey or whether a formal survey, as far as their teachers, how supportive they are, how welcoming they are. I mean, they're a little bit above the charts. So it is nice to see and read as a superintendent. I think at other levels, it's misunderstood when you're trying to redirect a child or correct behaviors. Sometimes parents don't always like the way it's handled. And that's often when I have to step in and meet with everyone and just make sure we're all on the same page and everyone agrees we're there for the child.
You mentioned homelessness as another problem. Kids Count says we have 1,500 kids in our schools in Rhode Island that are homeless, and some numbers just came out nationally where we have our homeless population is between 600 and 700,000 in this country, with the numbers at their highest levels ever. How many kids within the Newport schools that are characterized as homeless? And what I mean by that are not just kids living out on the street, but kids who are couch surfing or in other situations that would be determined as not having a permanent home.
I think our official data right now ranges anywhere from 36 to maybe 42. But to your point, Frank, as you bring up couch surfing, and for the public, that's when a person doesn't have really a place of residence, but lots of times either sleeps at a friend's house or sleeps on someone else's couch, or families double up in apartments or even in homes. So I think we have a lot more than are on our records, I'll say. And we try to make sure we document and stay on top of all of them. But we have a lot of young people, I'll say mostly in the high school area level, that, don't really share those things. It's kind of they're living with their friend or their best friend, and they just find different places to be able to stay on a regular basis. One of the other things I don't think the public understands or recognizes that in all our schools we have washing machines, because we do have children that have limited clothing, and they need to wash them at times. So that's another thing we have in our buildings, and they do get used on a regular basis.
Colleen, go ahead. Go on, Ryan.
I was going to pitch you, I think, the perfect segue, Frank, because I think I know where you're going. If we've been doing this long enough, it sounds like a lot of this, compared to when I went to school. When Frank went to school, it was
there was just one room.
Yeah, it was black and white days. That there was one counselor for the entire school. It seems like and I didn't go to Newport. I was in Coventry. It seems like now there's a lot more of the issues you're speaking about could be considered under mental health or helping these kids with possibly trauma coming into school. They may have had a bad experience or homelessness. What has changed over the last couple of years, and what's changing now in Newport Public Schools?
Ryan, that was pretty good, because that's exactly where I was going.
See?
Okay. All right. So I think a lot of things have changed. Obviously, for schools, we are addressing, I'll say, the whole child more than perhaps schools had to do in the past. And what I mean by the whole child, I mean as far as feeding, keeping one safe, clothes, I just mentioned, health services, making sure we make them available to them, transportation when and if needed, other than the regular yellow school bus. Those are all things we've put in place and we have in place to make sure children are able just to come to school and learn. If they're hungry, they can't learn. If they're worried about where they're going to sleep, or if they didn't get enough sleep, they're not going to be able to learn. Those are all the things. I'm not saying it wasn't around before, but I think there is more of it than, at least from my perspective growing up in Newport, than there was in the past. I do think social media, cell phones, they've, I'll say, desensitized and dehumanized a lot of us in some way, shape, or form. Instead of knocking on your neighbor's door, or instead of reaching out to your next door neighbor or community member, it's more a lot of texting. And for children, I don't think that's a good thing, and for young people. As a matter of fact, we had a science fair today, which I know we'll talk about later. But one of the things was about social media. And it was great, the comparisons they did and the age levels of who uses what apps. I didn't know some of them. And they looked at that. And I even asked the students that did the research in the project. I said, so what do you think? And they said, no, I don't think social media is really good for us. And I said, okay. But I do think social media has changed a lot. That's where you get a lot of the bullying. It used to be you go to school. This is another one I didn't bring up. You used to go to school and you'd see your friends. You'd see people. You don't have to go to school anymore. You can hold that phone. You can FaceTime someone. You can text them. You can stay on top of everything and anything that's going on socially with your friends, not being in school. So, that has, I think, played into a lot of what goes on. And it used to be when you went to school, it was just about school. It wasn't about what's on social media. It wasn't about the text someone just received. You were focused on what's going on in the classroom and working with and talking with the people that are in the classroom with you. Here, in all the schools, we have cell phone policies. We did and change them up in the sense of we tightened up on them. And in the first week, the students noticed it right away. No cell phone use in the classrooms. You may use them in the cafeteria, in the hallways, but you're done after that. The reality of trying to tell a teenager that's been holding a phone since they were born that they're not able to use the phone, I don't know if anywhere except for unless you take the phone physically. And then we've run into problems when we have tried to do that. I'll say at our middle school level, we have parents in today's world, they want to make sure they can contact their child. They want to make sure their child is safe at all times, and they want their child to have a phone on them. So there's a lot of mixed messaging going on about phones, but I do believe social media plays a lot into where we are today as a society.
Colleen, I was talking to the superintendent in Charahoe, and one of the things that she made a point of is the lack of mental health professionals in the schools. She used a number of close to 50 vacancies within schools throughout Rhode Island. Do we have adequate mental health employees or professionals in Newport?
In Newport, we've gone a different way. We do have the professionals in our building, and I'm going to say at this point in time, I don't have any openings, but we also offer teleservices. So we have them at the high school level. We've found, because part of our challenge here in Newport was having Spanish-speaking therapists that could help our population, or non-English speaking therapists. So we immediately, I thank Director Andrade for this. She looked into this, and she found, working with Director Ronnie Lee Mooney, who oversees our L population, they found this service available. And it's been so successful that we're now kicking it down to the middle school level, because we've just recently had a large population come in there, and a lot of them have not been in school for many years. That's another reason why sometimes school's a little difficult, because we literally, as a community, when sometimes we do receive children that are not from this country, they haven't been in school in 3 or 4 years, but yet they're 17 years old. I can't put them in a 5th grade class. So those are the other things we have to look at.
Just to kind of wrap up, we never know where we're going to go in these conversations.
Nothing about the holidays, nothing about...
I know, and we'll wrap up quick.
Ellie, why don't you talk about the science fair today?
Well, hold on. I have one more, and then we can do the science fair quick. First, I want to say, for anybody listening, it's okay not to be okay. And with that said, Superintendent, do you see more children coming in and asking for help, or saying that they need to talk to the therapist, or talking to a counselor, or do you see more of that?
I see young people and children more open to discussing it.
That's good.
And admitting that, you know what, I'm not myself. I do see more of that, or even recognizing what it is, saying, I don't know, I don't feel myself. So that's a very positive.
That is a very positive.
And healthy. So, yeah.
Speaking of very positive, we had a science fair.
Where did you go with that?
We had a
But
great
but that goes on,
science
people can
fair.
still go, right? And they can look at the
They
exhibits?
can. It's tonight, 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the Rogers High School gym. And today during the day, we had judging, and we had, I went through it. A lot of our staff went through it. And it was just a really great time. And I can't thank enough teachers, Emily Zilli, Bethany Borgetta, Brittany Coleman, and Beth Laterno, who the four of those women, and I think this is about the fourth year. It's slowly but surely built up every year, and the quality and the research projects have just gotten more and more, I'll say, clever and fun to just see and read and hear the students. Very professional, presenting their cases. And every student at Rogers High School that's in a bio or chem class, whether it's general ed, honors, or AP, they all participate in this fair. And then, for instance, if you're a student like us and seniors that the sciences may not be their thing, they actually were part of the judging teams as well. So it was a really great day, and we have a long list of those that qualify and that will go on to the state competition at CCRI. That's usually held in March. I'll be putting that in my update today, I think later today. And then I'm sure Principal Vance will be sending that out in his newsletter. But we're very proud of them.
You had forwarded us the 10 science fair projects winners.
I want to know about the first one, broccoli growth in different materials.
There you
What
go.
is that?
I didn't stop at that one, but I got to tell you, they're very creative in the things they think about. I saw one about bananas, and bananas, whether it was on the sill, whether it was in the box. He did a very thorough job, and that was pretty good what he learned and how he shared it. And I saw another one. One was really
potato dehydration.
Yes. I think you see some things about sports too, like basketball and things like that.
Bear's effect on the winter flounder population. That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Superintendent, I'm going to ask you a editorial question. Is it okay to publish and share this list?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Feel free.
All right. So
just
if
for the
everybody's
audience,
looking
I
for
did
the
send
full
that
list,
ahead of time.
Full
and
list
Ryan,
available.
Make sure you include the broccoli recipes.
Okay, I will. Full list will be available in a little bit on whatsupnuke.com.
Well, I think your audience needs to know you never send me anything. I send you things.
I don't know what I would send you.
I never know what I'm going to say when I come here.
Colleen, I have two final questions, and they're related. Okay. And I want you to think about 2022 and tell me what you were most enthused about, what you thought were the greatest accomplishments.
23 or
and
22?
Then I want you to, what's that?
2023 or 2023?
Yeah, 2023. I'm getting my years mixed up. 2023. Okay. And then also maybe your greatest disappointments.
Oh,
and the third one,
right, that's tough.
Expectations for 2024.
I'm going to withhold any comments on all of those at the moment. I will think about it. I will say that I am very proud of all our teaching staff, students, families, and the community, that everyone's coming back and bouncing back from the pandemic. We don't talk about it much, but it did have an impact on everyone. So I am pleased that we're starting to focus more on academics, being in school, being a community. I think, Frank, that's one of the things I'm most excited about, and I'm looking forward to in the future. I'm also seeing that the council is very supportive in making education a priority. And I'm happy to see that, because I do believe if you need to have support from your community to have a strong educational system. So I'm happy about that. The thing I always get a little disappointed about, that as adults, sometimes we all can't come together and do at the end of the day what we believe is best for everyone. And I hope we continue to work together to do what's best for children, always keeping students in the center. So I answered it as best as possible at this moment.
No, that was great. I will say one quick comment when you mentioned about the council and being on board really with the school department and school committee. That's not the case in every community. I have seen I see in one community that I do some coverage of that has been an incredible detriment to the schools, I think, in that community. But so it's great to take a look and see what's happening in Newport.
Yeah. And I think, and it all starts with a conversation. And I think that's one of the things, even as adults, sometimes we forget, just pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? Or do you want to talk? Or how can I help you better understand why our building project is where it is, or what our goals are for the students and what our challenges are. And I think those are all the things. I've always been very transparent, reaching out to community partners saying, I need help. I'm having difficulty, thank goodness for Conexión Latin and Rebecca Gomez and Marissa and everyone over there, working with us to help support our non-English speaking families. But I also need other help with other subgroups within the Newport Public Schools. So I'll continue to reach out to those community partners because we need to do wraparound services for everyone, and not all of them are going to look alike and be the same. So I'm open to all suggestions from community leaders and community civic organizations.
Favorite Christmas movie to end our discussion? We're running late.
Oh, Christmas movie.
Or you can tell us about a Christmas tradition that you have every year. Or you can tell us both.
Getting together with friends. That's
Okay.
the best one. Oh, yeah, that's the best one.
Getting together with friends. There you go.
Yeah, friends and family.
Excellent. Well,
sledding's really my big one, but we don't get much snow.
No.
we don't.
Well, this year might be different somewhere.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was just looking at my calendar for January, and there are 5 Wednesdays in January. So that means we don't talk to you for about 6-7 weeks now.
Wow.
So the next time we will talk to you is January 31st. And we'll be back right on our normal schedule. So hold on one second. Let me just check the question. Nope, there's no question there. It's a half of a comment. But anything else that we didn't get to?
No. Jingle Bell Rock. I like that song.
That was, I just saw a list of the top 10 Christmas songs. That was number 1.
Really?
Was it?
Yeah, I was quite surprised.
That's a funny one.
Oh, and while I have everybody, if they're looking for a Christmas movie, tonight and tomorrow night, we are partnering with Jane Pickens Theater to show National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. 7:30, get there 6:30, live music, Christmas music, both nights, usually sells out. Head on over. Jane Pickens is showing all sorts of Christmas classics this week, so good times.
Yeah.
All right, Superintendent. Well, we'll talk to you next year.
Talk to you next year. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
New Year.
All right. Take care.
All right. So that is Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain. We appreciate her taking an extended amount of time to talk to us today. And Frank, we never know where we're going to go, and that's where we ended up.
One of the things people say, well, can you give me a list of questions you're going to ask? I don't know what I'm going to ask until I get the answer to the first question, and then I'm off in a different direction. And it's a conversation. And we are very fortunate that Colleen is so open, and I don't think she's ever punted on a question we've asked. I think she's always answered the questions and always been honest about it. When she talks about transparency, that's what she is, and that's great for the community.
That's it. All right, my friends. Well, wishing you a happy holiday season, and we will talk to you soon, and we'll get our conversations all lined up again here starting in the new year.
That sounds great, and a happy holidays to you as well, and to everybody who's watching.
All right. Thank you, Frank Prosnitz. On behalf of Frank and myself, I want to thank Newport Schools Superintendent Colleen Burns Jermain for joining us today. If you missed any portion of the interview, want to watch it again, want to share it, all available on whatsupnoop.com. Thanks for watching.